Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into something, well, it's kind of strange. It's that paradoxical feeling of anxiety that just loves to show up right when we have something amazing to look forward to. We're going to explore this whole thing through a really insightful online community discussion about health anxiety. So let's just jump right in. Have you ever had this happen? You're getting super excited about a vacation, a big project, maybe even just a new season of your favorite show, and then bam. Suddenly, you're completely consumed with worry about your health. If that sounds familiar, you are definitely not alone. All right, here's how we're going to break this all down. First, we'll talk about the paradox of excitement itself. Then we'll get into how this anxiety can literally put your life on pause. After that, we'll uncover the really surprising reason our brains do this. And finally, and this is the important part, we'll talk about how to start reclaiming your future from it. Okay, first up, let's really define this experience. We're talking about that jarring moment when a perfectly good feeling like joy gets completely hijacked by a wave of fear. You know, the conversation that got this whole explainer started began with someone sharing this exact thing. They noticed this bizarre pattern. Every single time they had something to look forward to, their health anxiety would just flare up, almost like clockwork. And this quote, wow, it just perfectly captures that bittersweet feeling when you see your own struggle reflected in someone else's words. It's such a relief to know you're not the only one, but man, it's also heartbreaking to know other people are going through the exact same thing. Now let's talk about how this internal battle actually spills over into the real world, because it does, and it can really put our lives on hold. I mean, just read that. This is such a powerful and honestly devastating example. The fear isn't just some background noise, it becomes a genuine roadblock. Your anxiety starts telling you a story, right? Why even start this thing if you might not be around to finish it? And it's the same thing with planning for happy events. A vacation that should be this beacon of excitement becomes a deadline for disaster in the anxious mind. It just steals the joy and swaps it out for dread. So, do any of these look familiar? This is where those feelings often lead. They spiral into these compulsive behaviors, like constantly checking your body, getting lost for hours doom-scrolling symptoms online, or just fixating on incredibly rare diseases. And of course, each one of these actions just feeds the anxiety, locking you in this vicious cycle. So, what is actually going on here? Why does our brain do this to us? Why does excitement trigger fear? Well, that online community offered a really insightful explanation. Here it is. This is the key. Your body is not giving you some psychic premonition about your health. It's your own nervous system's defense mechanism, just overreacting. It senses something new, even if it's something great, and it flags it as a potential threat. It's just trying to keep you safe in your familiar comfort zone. And this slide maps it out perfectly. It all starts with something new and exciting. Then your nervous system kind of freaks out, which causes all those physical symptoms of anxiety, the racing heart, the tight chest. And finally, your mind, desperately searching for a reason for all these feelings, just lands on the easiest explanation it can find: your health. This simple line from the discussion is honestly a game changer. Think about it. To a brain that's already on high alert, the physical energy of excitement feels almost identical to the energy of fear. It can't really tell the difference, so it just sounds the alarm just in case. But here is the good news. Understanding this pattern is the absolute first step to changing it. Once you realize it's just a false alarm, you can actually start to respond to it in a totally new way. So the first step is just that. Notice when it's happening. When you feel that familiar spike of fear creeping in alongside your excitement, you can consciously tell yourself, aha, I see you. That's just the anxiety talking. That simple act of just naming it can create so much distance from the feeling itself. And this brings us to a super clear 3-step method for retraining your brain's response. It's right here on the slide. Notice, reframe, and proceed. First, you notice the feeling without any judgment. Second, you reframe it. You can even thank your anxiety for trying to protect you, but let it know that you've got this. And third, and this is the hardest part, you proceed with your plans anyway. Ultimately, this becomes an act of defiance, really. Every single time you push through that fear and you do the exciting thing anyway, you're teaching your nervous system that there's no actual danger. You're showing your anxiety that it doesn't get to call the shots anymore. And that brings us to our final thought for today. This isn't just about understanding anxiety. It's about living your life in spite of it. So we'll leave you with this question to chew on. What exciting thing are you going to do anyway?